or this linkage, whatever you want to call it, there's a slot right in here machined into the pin, and there's a little clippy clue. And I did not expect it to have much energy at all. And I put the little pick under it, and I didn't see it because it's so small. All I heard was something hit the bolt bin, which is about 3 feet that way, and then it hit something else, and then it went off into space. Let's go take a look. Welcome back. Whether this is the first time you stumbled upon Freedom 1 Garage or you've watched all our videos and you're back at it again, we appreciate every single one of you. We are digging back into the 1983 F150. This truck is just a beautiful little truck, and you know, Jalen put the shiny wheels on it now. In the meantime, a couple little things we did. We tried washing it, and it's still all scaly, so we might have to just drive it into town and get it to the car wash and take the sandpaper brush at the car wash to it. But we made, from templates of the old sideboards, we went to the greatest place on earth and got some new red cedar, treated it with Thompson's waterproofer, and we got our sideboards done, and we've got an extra 2x6. We were going to do 2x4, but I think we're going to make it the exact height that these are kind of beveled down to. So we got one more 2x6, and then we're going to make new brackets to hold on our backboard, but that really dresses up the truck as well. Today though, we're strictly mechanicals for this video, and it runs good. Idle's fine, the choke works, it doesn't have any kind of a fast idle. And it's on stanky gas and whatever else, but it's got a really big stumble. The accelerator pump seems to kind of sort of work at times, but seems to kind of sort of not work at times. And even beyond that, there are issues with this carburetor that I will show you physical. I mean, like looseness issues. Let me get a light here. And we ordered a carburetor kit. So we're going to pop this little 1-barrel Carter off of here. Talk about it just a little bit, you know, because sometimes if somebody's already fiddled with these, it's hard to find the numbers to get the parts, but we'll show you a cheater way of doing that. So the 1-barrel on here, just a little Carter. We're gonna pop this guy maybe off of here. Little breather. There's a nut and washer that holds this brace on to one of the manifold bolts. We already took that off. We'll take this. We got a new air cleaner as well, air filter, sorry. But we're not going to do that right now. This whole thing comes off. We'll set that. You know, here's the nice thing about buying a flatbed truck. We're just going to set that back here in the leftover, you know, Christmas parade, tractor parade lights. Here's your Carter 1-barrel. And something on these, and our green, the green 79, go back and watch that video. That's going to be a long-term project for moi, but it's got the same kind of issue. These guys on these little 300s especially, they have these little 1-barrel Carters, which is fine, but they have screws in them, or machine screws, that hold the bottom base of the carburetor to, I guess, the body base of the carburetor, and they screw in from the bottom up. And so if they don't get Loctited, or if over the decades it gets a little worn out and whatever, you end up having looseness. So the carburetor bolts on here through this stud. So this is the flange, this is the bottom of the carburetor, but watch right here. We're loose there. That's going to be a vacuum leak. Plus it's probably going to, you know, overall just affect the efficiency and performance of this carburetor. So this is pretty simple to get off of here. We've got fuel in. We've got vent that goes to the charcoal canister that probably doesn't do anything anymore. And then we've got a air cleaner vent that doesn't go anywhere either. We'll just cap that off when we go back together. This thing used to have some smogs on it, and it's been deleted a long time ago. Look at this little sensor on the thermostat. This is a vacuum switch assembly basically, and when this heats up, it allows a diaphragm in here to move, and then that turns on or off vacuum to things like the EGR or other emissions kinds of thingamajobs. We've got some vacuum here that's been plugged. We've got vacuum that goes up and over and down to a vacuum reservoir through this little junction here. And then of course we got a big vacuum going over to our power brake. So we will eliminate this one. We don't need it. We'll cap that off. It's not a vacuum, it's just more of a vent. And then yeah, let's get this carburetor off of here. Now it does have this big built-in EGR on it. We're just gonna have to kind of live with that, but it's no big deal. Enough, let's go. Let's get this going here. 1/4 inch hose clamp on the fuel supply line. We'll put a new fuel filter, and we'll probably go ahead and replace this section of line just because we can. Pull the carburetor off, no big deal. And then what I'd like to do is take the other stud and we'll come right back and spin him in there just so this EGR assembly will hang out for us. And that is the removal of the carburetor. Let's go over to bench. Okay, so here we are. Can you guys smell that? That fuel, the fuel in here is just ridiculously turpentine-y, but it runs. Anywho, here's our Carter Carb 1 barrel. It says, where? It says here, manufactured by Carter for Motorcraft, but we don't have the stamped steel tag on any of our. You want to look here first for your carburetor number to get your kit. Usually it's on this screw or this screw. Ours is long gone, which in this case is okay. We'll have to get this stud out of here. It can't come out because of the nuts on it. And then here are these screws. You can see this one came all the way out to here, and it's just loose on this base. So we'll get that fixed up when we go back together. Oh, and over here, here is, of course, our choke is shut. Here is this is your regular idle screw and your high idle screw. And then this cam in behind here, with the choke shut, that cam should jump down just a little bit further and catch that high idle screw. And then when you blurp the throttle, once it's warmed up, it should pop up like that and then go down here. We're just not getting that little bit of actuation. And it could just be because it's a little gummy. Anywho, it is a Carter, but we don't have the tag. So then what do? Well, there's a little bit of a trick. Carter puts their own number on these carburetors. So if you go to the very bottom of the base, where it says made in the USA, they'll stamp a number here. This is a 7389S. And if you Googleize that, you will find the correct kit. Because there's a couple of these, and just the way the bodies are, there's a couple different shapes and we'll show that to you. We might have both gaskets in our kit. We'll see. We're going to start tearing this apart. We got some, you know, just regular old bracketries we got to get off. We'll take the choke off. We're going to have to drill out these rivets in here. So this has been serviced before. We've got a screw here, 2 rivets up here. No big deal. But we'll start taking this apart and then get her in the cleaner. So to get the accelerator pump out, you've got all of these linkages. We're just taking these 4 screws around the pump body itself, and then this should all lift out. You got to take the little hose thing off too. Okay, still seems pretty solid-ish. Something's holding on to this guy. Maybe on the bottom side. Gotta be. Okay. Well, let's take this jet out. Let's go. It's not totally plugged, but mostly. Always, whenever you take something like that out, always look down in there, make sure there's not a metal ball before you go turning things over. Get this guy here. Yeah. All right. There, metal ball. So, in this passage over here, we had a plunger and a metal ball underneath it, and this is why we have the carburetor. That's off. That's number 1 layer. This is number 2 layer. Then we've got a spring washer in there. And we've got number 3 layer. And we've got a retaining clip. And then can we slide these guys off of here? Oh, there's a set screw in them. So we gotta actuate the throttles. Looks like we've got an Allen head. I was trying to rush it a little bit, and I didn't. You gotta clean the gunk out of the bottom of these Allen screws that have been, ow, oh my gosh, that have been, ouch, pinched the heck out of my hand. Let's try that again. Tempted to get a whole different Allen wrench, but we'll see here. There it goes. All right, we're all right. Then we can slide that out, and that gives us this little bit of linkage there into this bracketry on the throttle. So we're good there now. That's off. And then that was also what was holding on to this guy. So now all this can come out the top. That makes sense. The throttle, that's your actuation for your accelerator pump. This pulls down and goes want want. Hopefully the kit has this little rubber stopper for this vent. Oh, you guys. That thing flew. I was not expecting that. I heard it hit a couple of things. Hang on. Well, shucks, you guys. So this pin, or this linkage, whatever you want to call it, there's a slot right in here machined into the pin, and there's a little clippy clue. And I did not expect it to have much energy at all. And I put the little pick under it, and I didn't see it because it's so small. All I heard was something hit the bolt bin, which is about 3 feet that way, and then it hit something else, and then it went off into space. It's gone. It's just gone. So there's a little return spring here that catches the backside of this knobber, and then we can pull this out, and then that's how we get our vent cap, I guess is what you'd call it. We're not going to put this in carb cleaner because we don't know that we're going to get this little rubber button again, and it's clean anyway. We do have a springy in our choke that I did not take off, so that could also be part of the problem as to why our choke is was not, well, it was coming off though, but anyway, we'll figure it out. I'm not too worried about that. We're gonna get all this into the carb cleaner and let it sit for a couple hours probably, and we'll be back. Okay, next day alert. We grabbed our stuff out of the carb cleaner, cleaned everything up. We are pretty dang clean. Everything came out really nice. We did just a little bit of spritzing and spraying with some carb cleaner. We went through all our little passages and made sure they were open. On this particular Carter, because this base is a separate piece, don't forget, this is where your idle mixture screw is. So you've got passages in here. But now we retained a couple things kind of together just because. Number one was this accelerator pump contraption. It's pretty involved. So let's take a look here. Standard high grade kit. It is number 1550. And I do believe I took a peek at it at the house last night. And I believe it's the right one. First of all, well, here, we're just going to break into it as we've done our little preliminary look. Get rid of the plastic. Now there's no going back. We have all of our little pieces, and I think this little clip here is the one that went springing across the shop yesterday. So hopefully that gets us out of that doghouse. We've got little rubber gaskets. We've got the other little round clip thing, a couple O-rings, a soft seal. So we use pretty much all that. We've got our, I don't know why it's separate, but we've got a needle seat gasket. And then here is our gasket assembly. And let's see if this makes sense. And I thought maybe this was the case, but you basically have a couple different body designs where these two bottom halves come together. So you have this design that is not correct. That's one version of the kit, and then you've got this one that does seem to match up. So that's why we had to do a little bit of digging to make sure that we were on the right trail with carb kits. Now the other thing, like I said, is there's another little clippy clue down there that might be the one we sent flying. And then here's our accelerator pump, and it is very, involved. It's got the various shoulders and machining grooves and things built into it. So we are going to, first of all, attack that contraption. And we shouldn't have to do much except get this top keeper off. I don't want to damage my springy. There we go. I want to make a little room here just so we don't cross-contaminate some parts. There's the top spring, and that's got some meat to it. And then, can we pull this guy through here yet? We cannot. We're going to have another retainer there. So now we got to take the silver pivot point. There's a second layer, and then the big thicker green layer comes off. We can lay that down as an assembly. Then we've got a big brass washer. And then here's our second retention clip. It can just slide down. Now this spring comes out, top to bottom. Now we should be able to take this guy out. And I don't think he was ruptured at all. It was just time. Now this washer, I don't think we got one of them. Sometimes you gotta look close. So for whatever reason, on the back side of this accelerator pump, there's a washer. It doesn't fit down into that cup, it just sits on top. So we're going to set the old one aside. Now we're going to start building back on our new one. So we're going to put that washer in. Then we're going to slide this up through here. Then we're going to put our springy on. Then we should be able to put our first retainer. Then we have this other washer that goes on there. Then we're back to this stack of items. And then we're going to go here. Okay, we're going to need our little pliers. I don't think I got a new one of these in the kit. A new little hat for the top. And this one's a little mangled, but it was holding under the old setup, so it should continue to hold as long as I don't beat on it too bad here. There. I might have to squeeze on it just a little bit. There, like that. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad. And then we're going to go right down into here with it. Oh, we got these little rubber gaskets on this actuating rod here. That's what I'm calling it. Kind of interesting. There's multiple layers. It's like you shim it up to a certain depth. We've got 4 here. So that's what we're going to put back on. And we do have those in there somewhere. I like the idea of the plastic carburetor work mat, but I think I'm going to go back to a steel one. Mostly just because I don't like the black plastic. It tends to hide things like black washers and gaskets and things. Alright. So we've got a thick one, and we've got these 4 over here. These are the ones that came off. They're all super thin. We're just going to use the 4 like it came off. And then when this goes in here, there's a piece that comes across here, right here. So there is a flat spot. And we got to orientate that something like this here, I believe, according to, see the flat spot right there too. There's one, two, there's three, and there's four. And we got them all lined up so the flats are happy. I think we got to turn like that. Yes. And that goes like that. We're in pretty good shape. We'll try this one. All right. So this is how we're going in. And we got to run our needle down through where it goes. Oh golly, this is complicated. Okay, here we go. We're good now. Now we kind of got to hold on to this, and then we can put our 4 screws in down there. They're the 4 clean ones because they've been living the good life in gasoline. These guys right here. All right, 4 screws in. We did get our new little black piece of tubing hooked up. It seems to be just fine. And yeah, that's kind of the most, intricate part, I think. Now, what did we do next? I think we got to get rolled over here. We've got this bottom piece to go back together. Right now, we're just going to tighten them up, snug them up, just in case as we go back together we're a little bit goofy. And if that's the case, we can run these back out and fix, if we missed a little linkage connection or something, or had something on the wrong side of something else. It's always kind of a possibility. Now, we should have right here, we should have accelerator pump. Wow! 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 Life looks pretty good. Enough to give us a new one right here. So let's try and pop that in there without losing another one. Oh yeah, that went right in. Piece of gravy. Hey, here's something to note. We have a spring loaded, and I didn't notice this taking it apart. We've got a spring loaded needle and seat. We can see it here in the new pieces. They got this 2-piece, and then there's a really tiny, where'd it go? Yeah, really tiny, real tiny spring in there. So that's kind of cool. Let's go over the adjustment of the metering rod setting. This is your metering rod, goes down here. It meters, just as it says, the fuel that comes through that main jet. Well, that metering changes, of course, with the amount of acceleration you apply. So to set this, and I've already done it, but it isn't too bad, you push down here on your accelerator pump rod. And then if this isn't bottomed out down here, you turn this screw in 2 or 3 turns until you see some movement here and it's not bottoming out in the bore. Okay, And then you start to then go counterclockwise, lefty-loosey on here until that movement goes away and you're bottomed out in the bore. And you're holding the diaphragm shaft down this entire time. So once you get the play out of here, then you go back clockwise or righty-tighty, one full turn, and that is the final setting. So at fully depressed, we've got a little bit of movement there, and that should be where we're at. We should be able to go ahead and drop our top down on here. There it goes. Again, we got to make sure our gasket's pretty close to lined up. We'll put a couple screws in this top just to kind of hold everything in place, and then we'll continue on with like choke adjustments and that kind of stuff. All right, next day alert, a little different angle for you guys. So internally, I believe our adjustments have been made. And so now we move on to the more external things. That includes our choke. Now chokes can be a little intimidating, I guess, if you're not used to working on them, but really most good carb kits will come with really good constructions anyway. So one thing about this guy is there's a little bit of a leverage issue going on between the butterfly, the choke butterfly, and then the cam down here. And what they've done to help facilitate the movement of that choke is they've got a little springy in here. And we took this apart. This intermediate plate was kind of in here, and I didn't notice until I had this in my hand that the spring was here and it was just dangling. Well, there's a little slot right there. That's where the end of that spring goes. So we're going to catch him. It's not hard to get lined up. You see it sticking out right there. And then this has a little hole for this. That's part of the heat riser. And then that holds that in place. And then you got a little where it just kind of helps it kind of snap shut. Not a lot, just a little bit, but it helps it. If it's on either side of that rise, it helps hold it there. And now we've got our choke cover. We need a new choke gasket. Yeah, that'll work. So inside these choke caps, or thermostats, I forget what the technical term is for these, there's a heat activated coil spring, and show you what that looks like. Put a little heat to it. This one pushes on that coil. It's going to push this way. Now because this spring technically pushes this directions, one would think that you want your lever to be pushed open as it warms up. That's not really the case. We want our lever on the cup side of this because we're holding back the opening of the choke with this spring, not pushing the opening of the choke with the spring. So we're going to make sure we're on the back side of that, and then we're going to rotate our housing so we're on the index there. And now we've got our choke held shut. Now it's just a matter of installing our retainer ring on here. And this one had a screw in the bottom. And what we'll do is we'll snug this screw up. We won't put those two rivets back in yet until we like how it works on the car. Right now we can still move this a little bit if we want to, and then once we get it just where we like it, we'll put our two rivets in once it's on the car. All right, one of our adjustments is setting the amount of opening in the choke plate when the fast idle cam, or when the fast idle is activated. And so to do that, you need to put your fast idle screw up against the highest step on your fast idle cam, and then you measure between the air horn and your choke plate. And ours was 0, and it's supposed to be 9/64, which is a strong 1/8 of an inch. Now to change that, you bend your actuator linkage here. There we go. And then we'll put you back up in here. And we may have gone too far. Ooh, probably not bad. Probably not bad. We went from nothing to that much. Now you're supposed to, like I said, it's 9/64, so about 4/32, or 4.5. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at this. We couldn't guess better than that. That's gonna live right there. These are 1/8 inch pop rivets will go in here, but they're a special length. They're really super long. And we didn't have any, so what you can do, if this hasn't been hogged out already, you can just get a number 8 by about a 1/2 inch sheet metal screw for those other two ears, and life will be good. What happens a lot of times though is if you're not careful, people start getting confused and putting machine screws in there, then sheet metal screws, and trying to go a bigger size or tap them or something, and before you know it, these are just wallered out and hardly nothing will hold it. But if you have clean metal, it just takes a couple sheet metal screws, and if you don't fidget with it, it should last, you know, for the forevers. That's where we're at. I think we're all done now. We did, remember these 4 screws down here, what we said. Now we're all together, everything's going to be happy, we know that. We're going to take these out one at a time, and I brought my thread locker out just so I would remember to do this. We aren't going to douse them, just 2 little droplets, and back in we go. I'll do this with the other 3 screws, and then we're going to throw it on and run it. In the meantime, we've kind of got 2 videos going on here, and I've already mentioned it. Between this and the heater core is now done. But I noticed with this out of the way, we know we have a valve cover leaking on the engine, and we kind of like to see how much gunk is built up in the engine. So with the carburetor off and out of the way, we're going to go ahead and start a 3rd video on the valve cover issue and how we're going to get this little 300. Every time we start it, it makes less noise and runs a little better. So we're going to take the valve cover off and show you. I think, you know, we've had some good success with receiving old cars that have been in storage, and the internals are just really clean. I'm not so sure this is going to be one of those. We may have to do a little science and do a little cleaning internally on this little 300 6-cylinder. So stand by for carburetor start and run finale, I guess. That's where we got with all that rambling. Okay, it's a couple days later. It is basketball season, and there's just stuff and things, and it's December, and it's Christmas season, and a lot of things. But we are back. It's just been a couple days, and now let's go back over to the truck. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to reuse this base plate gasket because it's nice and thick. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't like the wimpy paper ones that come with some of these carburetors when the factory wanted to put a much heavier duty version down there. So let's slide you on, and you can see we're a little bit ahead of you here. We did put our throttle kibble back. Check out the fancy blue valve cover. I don't know how it's going to land, but there's a video on not only cleaning up this valve cover, but how we're going to clean up the internals of this engine. I don't know which one's going to post first. Just make sure you watch all our videos. That's what I would recommend. The only vacuum line we've got, dudes and dudettes, is for the distributor. So it's on there. Been a little bit out of frame there, sorry. Let's see what this looks like. If we do that and then just bendy here, yeah, it'll live there. Like that. And these little clampy, I'm usually not a fan of the clampy clamps, but the ones that come in these Wix filters, and this is the 33032 for the 5/16. 33033 I think is 3/8, and then they actually make a quarter one. It might be 30. I don't remember, to be honest. But they come with a pretty decent. Number one, it's easy to manipulate, and number two, they hold good. Nice springy fuel clamps. They're kind of one of my favorites all of a sudden. Those guys are on. Now we got to get our heat riser tube in here. There. Sorry about the flickering light. I don't know what's going on with this trouble light. It just came off the charger, but it's flickering a little bit. I don't know how many rip'ems this thing will start at, but I guess we'll just kind of see. Okay, battery's in. Let's go ahead and see how this puppy starts up and runs here. It's going to take a little crank, and we got no fuel in the bowl. I don't know why I'm pumping it. Completely off. We dropped the idle just a little bit. Hey, she's running good. Nice idle. We're probably maybe a little fast yet for a manual transmission. Let's go. There we go. We like that. Now you hear a little bit of a spitter sputter in there. Number one, we don't have the air cleaner on it. Number two, it is some rancid fuel running through this thing still. So I'm really happy. It's smooth. Again, it gets quieter every time we run it. So that's rebuilding Carter 1-barrel on your Ford 300. They ain't that bad, and when you get them going the right way, they run really nice. This is going to be a dream to start now when it's colder out, now that we got that fast idle, you know, set up correctly. So that's it for this one. Appreciate each and every one of you for watching our junk and stuff and videos. See you on the next one.